National Prosecuting Authority says its 6-month priority plan to deal with state capture and corruption cases is on track. A number of these cases are in progress, and this includes the multi-million rand Transnet corruption case. The NPA says Transnet is one of the primary sites of massive looting of state funds at the peak of the state capture. Let's get some reaction about the NPA's progress in this matter. Let me discuss this now with the African Rail Industry Association's Mesela Nhlapo. Mesela, good afternoon. Welcome to today here on eNCA. Surely you welcome the progress being made by the NPA, in particular with the case of the alleged corruption in Transnet, because Transnet is pivotal in the rail industry.
We, as an industry, appreciate the work that is being done by government to deal with corruption. And having said that, we must not be fooled that corruption started at a particular time and ended at a particular time. We must always be on the lookout for anything that looks like corruption as South Africans. And yes, we support what the NPA is doing on the alleged corruption that have been put forward of the accused.
Yeah, just give us a picture of the impact of this alleged corruption on the industry itself. I'm not talking about the breaking down of infrastructure, but other types of impact that your industry is suffering due to corruption.
You know, the 1064 was supposed to respond to the African Union's declaration that South Africa will champion the manufacture of rail rolling stock. And as a result, many international companies invested in South Africa and on the backdrop of that investment, of which was the first and the biggest in the world. But what had the impact that has had, it has resulted in job losses. Yes, as the rail industry, we are responsible for the unemployment rate. It has resulted in black companies. The transformation that we so wanted to achieve and maintain, it has been killed by such corruption. Corruption,
Oh, just interested to hear more on the impact there from Mesela Nhlapo. Unfortunately, we lost that connection, and I would hazard a guess by saying that load shedding must have happened in the area. She lost connection. Is she back with us? Oh, okay, can you still hear me, Mesela? Maybe I can hear you, but we lost your picture. Yeah, I think she's gone. Apologies for that. She was just explaining some of the impact. Jobs, she said, is one of them that has been impacted by alleged corruption at Transnet, and also the issue of small black-owned businesses also losing out there big time. Unfortunately, we cannot proceed with that conversation, but they appreciate the efforts of the NPA as the industry in fast-tracking the cases around corruption at Transnet. Just to remind you that in terms of the state capture case, and there is a case in court currently, 398.4 million rand corruption case at Transnet. Former Transnet Group CEO Brian Molefe, former Group CFO Anuj Singh, as well as Regiment's Capital Directors Niven Pillay and Lita Nyonya were charged with contravention of the PFMA and fraud on the 29th of August 2022. They joined the former Transnet Group CEO Siyabonga Gama, the former Group CFO Gary Peter, and others who were charged on the 27th of May 2022. This is one of those cases that the NPA is prioritizing as what it calls seminal matters. And they've been doing this. Now, Transnet, of course, we know is one of the primary and emblematic sites, according to the NPA, of massive looting of state funds at the peak of the state capture era. And rolling these cases is therefore, according to the NPA, an important milestone and outcome of its complex investigation. So we're just trying to get some reaction from one of the stakeholders in the rail industry. I was talking to Mesela Nhlapo, CEO of the Railroad Association, and I'm pleased to tell you that she's back with us. We've reconnected. Mesela, we lost you there, but we made sure that we got you back. Thank you for reconnecting with us. You were answering my second question about the impact. You mentioned jobs. And you got cut off there as you were explaining about the impact on black-owned small businesses. Please continue.
Black-owned businesses, women-owned, youth-owned businesses that we as ARIA, as an export council, that is a mandate from the DTIC, that we need to grow and revitalize the rail sector and restructure it, transform it. That transformation is gone. And when the two state-owned entities, PRASA and Transnet, are not functional, we're basically killing the entire rail industry. But having said that, we are excited with the new rail policy that was gazetted, that provides for private sector coming into into the sector and being able to use third-party access as a means to help Transnet to meet the demand that is out there, whether it's from the mining companies or any of their customers. And for us, and what it means to have third-party access and the inefficiencies at Transnet that we have seen. Professor Havenga from the Stellenbosch University says that it costs the country 385 billion, which is approximately 10% of the national GDP. So transport is the heart of the economy, and we cannot wait a minute longer not to introduce third-party access. We cannot use loopholes in the system not to introduce third-party access. I want to say to Unthabiseng, Ujabu, Elokshin, that the economic reconstruction and recovery plan, if it's not implemented, it's not implemented by design, you will stay unemployed. So it is a requirement from ARIA that there must be an immediate introduction of third-party access as prescribed by the rail policy.
Now, as the African Rail Road Association, you are welcoming the new measures going forward. That's the future. But I just want to focus on the current state. The Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, the other day in Pretoria, launching another line with new trains between Pienaarsport and Pretoria Central Station. Are you seeing evidence on the ground currently that they are really improving railroads? Because we know we need them. As you say, the rail is the heartbeat as part of transport as well in the country. So too are roads, but we're talking about rail here. Are you seeing evidence of progress in addressing challenges with infrastructure, security of the rail?
The infrastructure of the rail, well, on whether there is traction on the ground, I have less industry players complaining, of which is exciting. We see a lot of procurement taking place from PRASA, so there is work that is being done from PRASA. Then on the Transnet side, there's a little bit of delays, and that has a huge impact on companies that actually are specialists in certain services that Transnet procures from. And with the infrastructure, I want to cover the infrastructure not as a Transnet problem, but as a South African problem. There is absolutely no way that the infrastructure will disappear in a manner that it disappears and no one knows. It is my responsibility, is every South African's responsibility, that we realize is that the infrastructure is a South African asset. It does not belong to Transnet. It's our asset. If we destroy it, if we want people destroying it, we are allowing the service delivery not to take place. So for service delivery to take place, for us to use cheaper mode of transport, greener modes of transport, we must protect our infrastructure. The people of this country are the only ones that can protect the infrastructure.
Okay, now on the corruption side of things, I understand the Transnet case, the one that I highlighted earlier when we lost your connection before you came back now. It's that one of the 398.4 million rand matter involving senior executives, former, allegedly, were involved in this corruption case. The likes of Brian Molefe, Anoj Singh, Niven Pillay, Lita Nyonya, Siabongagam. It's coming back to court on the 14th of of October, which is this month, that will be in just over a week from now. While you are welcoming, as an industry, the progress that the NPA is making in making sure that such cases that have an impact on your industry are seeing the light of day in court, what would you be looking to as you follow this case? It's just one case of Transnet. I mean, Transnet is big. PRASA is another one, but PRASA is not one of the seminal cases yet by the NPA. But what would you as an industry be looking out for to see what the judiciary will be doing in ensuring that there's no more corruption?
You see, the nice thing about being a constitutional democracy is that we get to hear both sides of the story. And I think is that in an open court of law that we will hear how the alleged corruption may have been facilitated, so that we remain on the lookout that this alleged corruption does not take place again. And as I've said earlier, we should not be fooled that corruption started in a particular year and ended in a particular year. Even today, South Africa, as an industry body as well, it is our duty to make sure that the corruption in the industry does not prevail. And as ARA, would like to use this opportunity to thank the Department of Transport for engaging us meaningfully to come up with the rail policy. The rail policy gives a clear direction. Let's get private sector offering services on road. Now, this would mean that Mesela, as a small woman-owned entity, would not rely on Transnet and PRASA anymore, but I will have other customers, so that when PRASA and Transnet have problems, the work that we put through for transformation does not collapse. We owe it to South Africans to make sure that the railways work.
Thank you very much for your time and your views this afternoon there. That's Ms. Mesela Nhlapo. She's the CEO of the African Railroad Association.